Hello YouTube, this is my 2017 Honda Civic hatchback, right-hand drive, and a couple of weeks ago I put a subwoofer in it. So in the process of putting the subwoofer in my car, I realised that there are very few tutorials online for right-hand drive 2017 Honda Civics. So I thought I'd just run you through it, because there's a couple subtleties which are important to pick up on. It makes it a lot easier once I've worked out the snags for you. Right then, so here we are in the back of the car. This is the carnage. So don't mind the mess. It is a bit of a work in progress at the moment. All this can be all tidied up and wrapped up. I'm planning on getting a little black plastic box or something, maybe a little case just to wrap it all up in. So this is a in-phase USW 300. It's an integrated amp and subwoofer. So this tutorial should probably work for pretty much any subwoofer you want to install, whether it's integrated or not. The only difference is you can have a separate amp box from your speaker. And also the gauge of the battery wire is going to change. If you have a more powerful amp, it'll be a thicker wire. That's pretty much it. Otherwise, got your speaker wires, you've got your power wire, and you've got your black ground. So here we are in the front of the car. The speaker wires run straight from the back. These are nice and long, so I suppose I could have put it in the back, in the boot if I wanted. But these just sneak underneath here. Nothing special, just to keep them out of the way. And then they go underneath this bit of trim. So this bit and this bit, you're going to have to snap these out if you want to get to the back of the head unit anyway. So I've just run it underneath. You do have to be a bit careful just to get it on the correct side of the clips and to not squish the wire or bend it or snap it in any way. So yeah, there are plenty of tutorials online for getting the trim and the head unit off. I'm not going to repeat it here because you risk breaking things, but it's pretty simple. Yeah, so what I did is probably not advisable. What I did was I just hacked straight into the speaker wires, coming straight out the back of the head unit. That's not advisable. It's a massive, massive pain in the ass. So what you can do, there's a plug that goes into the back of the head unit. What you can get is a harness. So it's a plug that goes into that plug, which exposes the wires for you. So you can just you can literally get the ends, shove them straight in, and it's done. I did it the hard way. So I literally snipped the wires, stripped to them, got a crimp connector. Yeah, so essentially what I had to do was get the two ends of the wires. Imagine this is cut in the middle, a crimp, and then the third speaker wire coming in. I'll draw a little diagram on paint probably. Believe me, if you can get a harness, just do it. It's working in this tiny little space here is so fiddly. I was getting cramp, my arms were getting tired from lifting them up and all the blood rushing out of them. Just get a harness. I didn't do it because one, I'm lazy, and two, every shop around, it had every other harness. It had BMW ones, VW ones, bloody Skoda ones, but it did not have any Honda harnesses, so I was impatient. I recommend being patient. Just wait a couple more days, get the proper equipment. It saves you so much. Oh, so one very important subtlety to notice here is if you were to just go online and Google Honda Civic 2017 Mark 10 or whatever HFT wiring diagram, Google is going to spit out thousands and thousands and thousands of results saying this is the one, this is the one, this is the one. It's not the one. The one you're looking at, probably, almost certainly, it's the one I looked at for ages, was the sedan version. So the wiring out of the back of the head unit is different between the hatchback and the sedan version of the car. What I'll do is I'll find it again and I'll link it in the description down below. The hatchback version. Honestly, I had the entire thing to bits before I realised that. It could have been a right shit show. Right then. So let's just go over the wiring that I've got here. the rat's nest of wiring. So I'll start with the ground because it's nice and easy. The ground is just back here. my leaky bottle of washer fluid. Just underneath here, child safety latch. If you get your fingers, just a little plastic tab here, lifts up, and you've got a screw. So if you take both sides off, take this down, take both sides off, this bit of plastic comes out, and then you've got access to the chassis. That literally bolts straight to the chassis. So this wire is just tucked underneath that bolt there. Gave it a little bit of a scrub with the wire wall just to make sure it's got a good connection, and perfect. Works fine. Very easy. This goes down the side of the door, down there. This bit of trim here, if you get underneath it, just pops straight up vertically with a couple of snaps. This is just hiding underneath that bit of trim there. So this little bracket here, the bonnet latch, this pops out. You can see there's a little hole there, there's a little snap in the end. It comes out in the same direction as my hand is going there. Pretty easy, there's nothing to break here. You can see my little bit of yellow from my wire. It's just sneaking up around there, making sure it's, you know, not tight or anything, not snagging on anything. Everything still works. Just sneaking up past the fuse box. Hooked it around this little bit here, which holds on the brake pedal. And then, if I can angle my phone correctly, just up here, it's going through a rubber grommet through the firewall into the engine bay. This is the hardest part of the job. What you've got to do is, I had a little screwdriver, as thin as the thinnest one I had, and with the shortest handle I've got and the shortest shaft, excuse me. Got it up here, but believe me, it's not easy. Poked it through the bottom of the grommet, so you can feel that there's an edge, a metal edge to the grommet going through the firewall. Poke it as low as you dare, basically. There's a lot of wiring here, all this, I assume it's, you know, battery wiring straight from the battery going into this fuse box. All that stuff, if you nick that with your screwdriver, it's going to be endless work trying to get that fixed. So just take an extra couple seconds just to poke it through, make sure there's no resistance. It's just a rubber grommet, literal millimeters worth of rubber on either side. So no resistance, basically. It should just pop straight through. You should have the end of a screwdriver poking out through the grommet just there, just at the back. Now I can't quite get my phone in because I have to shove it down there to show you. But yeah, you'll have the end of a screwdriver poking through there. And what you want to do after that is make a note of where your fuse is on your battery, on the wire for your subwoofer, because it might have an integrated fuse. You might need to splice one in yourself. This one came with an integrated one, so I had to do it in a certain direction because there's no way that's getting through the little hole that I've made with my screwdriver. So get a coat hanger, hook over the end of the coat hanger, put battery wire that you're pulling through into the crook of the coat hanger, and then tape it up as tight as you can. You don't want any edges or anything to pull on the grommet. You want it just to slip straight through. It should just go pop straight through. No snagging, no anything. If there's any resistance, take it out, do it again. And then soapy water, grease everything up with soapy water. The entire, it might be 3 or 4 meters long, your wire, the entire thing, grease it up as much as you can. And then you want to slowly but surely feed the entire thing through. So in this instance, I had to go in the other way. So I'm pulling it from the inside of the car through the firewall. And now we get the key, and we hope that it works. And there's a good reason I say that, and I will go into details in a moment. Now we have sexy blue light. That implies that something's working. So first test, very important, make sure that everything works. So turn the sub all the way down. Not going to play too much music. But yeah, it's coming out the left, it's coming out the right, it's coming out the rear, it's coming out the rear. Golden. I've not cocked up anything in the wiring here, so if it's crackly at all, you've made a mess, essentially. It's very sad. If that happens to you and you've hacked it to pieces like me, I would just bite the bullet, go get a harness, or just do your rewiring again. Luckily, it's not happened for me. I've had it installed for a good couple months now. I've given the car a good rag. It's nice and secure. So an important part is that there's nowhere for these wires to go. If I pull on these, the trim is holding them in, and likewise up here. So the battery is at, the HFT is pinching the wires. So even if some disgusting, horrible little toddler was to come in here and start yanking on all this, it's not going anywhere. So my connections in here, my crimps, which are the weakest part, because as I say, I hacked it to bits, they're nice and safe inside here. There's nowhere for it to go. It's all bolted in. We're golden. So first thing to check, make sure your speakers work. So second part, blue light. That means it's on. That means it's working. So if I was to turn on the radio, so you probably can't tell through the speakers, it's making a noise, it's doing something. I can definitely feel the bass. What a horrible song. Now the next very, very, very important thing to check is, I'm going to turn the car off. So if I look at this now, it's still on. If I keep waiting, because the car's off, I've taken the key out, it should get a clue in a moment. It does take a minute. But essentially, you want this to turn off within a reasonable time of you removing the key. This subwoofer that I've got here with the integrated amplifier, it's listening to the speaker wires essentially. It's waiting for a voltage on the speaker wires to turn the amp on. Oh, here we go. You can see, dimmer and dimmer and dimmer, and it's gone. So the sub's off. So now that means that the car is not going to drain its battery. Super, super, super important. But one thing that I will mention that has caused me a lot of stress recently. So if I put this in, everything's good. We got green, got a couple of warnings because the engine's not on, but everything's legit. No warnings at all. When I first started using this subwoofer, this thing lit up like a Christmas tree. Turns out that the battery that was in my car, while it started the car fine, it passed every battery test that was going. Just installing the subwoofer was apparently enough to upset it. So I did my research, found the code on the battery, and it turns out that it was the original battery from when this car was new. This car's getting on for 6 years old now. It was an EFF. They last 3 to 5 years apparently. This was a 6-year-old battery. It started the car fine. All the electronics, you know, your lights and stuff, they work fine, but it was really upsetting the computer. If the sub was attached, it'd upset the computer. If the sub was not attached, the computer was fine. Something's going on. So what I've done, I've replaced the battery. It was due for a replacement anyway, and now, flawless. Absolutely flawless. It works beautifully. The sub works. I've had no warnings anywhere. My LCAS works, my automatic lights, blah, 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 blah. Perfect. Cannot fault it. So just make sure that your battery's up to snuff, essentially, if you're attaching anything new to it. Because all these fancy modern cars, it's very easy to upset them, isn't it? That, I think, is about it, isn't it? I hope this was helpful. See you later.